Good morning, sixth graders, and happy Monday. Today we're going to do a quick review for our Unit 4 test tomorrow. I know you're going to do a great job, and so does Mr. Smiles. Make sure you're showing all of your work during this video. Go ahead and start by writing the Champion's Creed at the top of your paper. Today you have the chance to show how great you are with fraction division. Let's start with our do now. What is 2/3 divided by 3? Well, remember, 2/3 divided by 3 is the same as 2/3 times 1/3, the reciprocal of 3. What's 2/3 times 1/3? It's 2/9. You try number 2. What's 5/9 divided by 2? Well, 5/9 divided by 2 is the same as 5/9 times 1/2. What's that answer? It's 5/18. What's 3/4 divided by 7? 3/4 divided by 7 is the same as 3/4 times 1/7, or 3/28. Let's do a problem together. Kyle made 8 gallons of lemonade. He poured the same amount into each of 6 containers. How many gallons of lemonade were in each container? What's being split up? The 8 gallons of lemonade are being split up. So what division problem could I use to answer this question? I could use 8 divided by 6. How would I write 8 divided by 6 as an improper fraction? It's 8/6. That's not my final answer because I can simplify it. What's the largest number that goes into both 8 and 6? It's 2. When I divide both 8 and 6 by 2, what's my resulting improper fraction? It's 4/3. The correct answer is B. Now let's convert 3 1/4 into an improper fraction. Remember, first I can multiply the whole number times the denominator. What's 3 times 4? It's 12. Then I can add the numerator. What's 12 plus 1? It's 13. The denominator stays the same. So what's my improper fraction? It's 13/4. Now you try one. How would I write 4 2/3 as an improper fraction? Well, let's see how you did. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 more is 14/3. We also talked about volume in this unit. What is the volume of a prism with side lengths of 3 inches, 6 inches, and 2 inches? Well, I can multiply length times width times height to find volume. What's 3 times 6 times 2? Well, 3 times 6 is 18, times 2 is 36. The volume is 36 cubic inches. We also might have fractional side lengths. What's the volume of a prism with side lengths of 5/4 inches, 3/2 inches, and 6/5 inches? To do this, I need to multiply my fractions like normal. What's 5 times 3 times 6? What would be my new numerator? Well, 5 times 3 is 15, times 6 is 90. My numerator would be 90. What would my denominator be? What's 4 times 2 times 5? Well, 4 times 2 is 8, times 5 is 40. So the answer is 90/40, or 9/4. Now you try one. What's the volume of a prism with side lengths of 4/3 inches, 1/2 inch, and 5/6 inches? You don't need to simplify your answer. Let's see how you did. The correct answer is 20/36 cubic inches. This unit has been all about dividing fractions. To divide a fraction by a fraction, we need to multiply by the reciprocal, write that down, of the divisor. That means we're multiplying by the denominator and dividing by the numerator. Let's look at our first problem, 5/6 divided by 4/5. What's the dividend in this problem? The dividend is 5/6. Label it on your paper. What's the divisor in this problem? The divisor is 4/5. So 4/5 is the number that I'm going to find the reciprocal of. So I need to multiply 5/6 times, what fraction will I multiply 5/6 by? I'll multiply by 5/4. What's 5/6 times 5/4 written as an improper fraction? It's 25/24. Now I can change that to a mixed number through division. When you change 25/24 into a mixed number, what's the result? Let's see how you did. 24 goes into 25 one time with a remainder of 1. So the answer is 1 and 1/24. 7/8 divided by 3/4. What multiplication sentence could I use to solve this? 7/8 times, I would multiply by 4/3. That's the reciprocal. What's 7/8 times 4/3? Write your answer as an improper fraction. It's 28/24. I can change that to a mixed number. Do that now. When I change 28/24 into a mixed number, 24 goes into 28 one time with 4 left over. So the answer is 1 and 4/24. I could simplify that to 1 and 1/6. Now try another. What's 3/5 divided by 2/3? Answer that question now. The correct answer is 9/10. 3/5 divided by 2/3 is the same as 3/5 times 3/2, or 9/10. We also talked about dividing mixed numbers. When you divide mixed numbers, remember, first convert any mixed numbers into improper fractions. Then we can divide. So let's do it. 3 3/4 divided by 4/5. How would I write 3 3/4 as an improper fraction? Well, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 more is 15/4. So I have 15/4 divided by 4/5. Now I can multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So 15/4 times 5/4. What's the result of that multiplication? You can leave your answer as an improper fraction. Well, 15 times 5 is 75, and 4 times 4 is 16. The correct answer is 75/16. Let's do another example. 2 2/3 divided by 2 1/4. How do I write 2 2/3 as an improper fraction? Well, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 more is 8/3. Divided by, how do I write 2 1/4 as an improper fraction? 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 more is 9/4. Now I can multiply by the reciprocal. Go ahead and do that now. You can leave your answer as an improper fraction. What's 8/3 divided by 9/4? Well, 8/3 divided by 9/4 is the same as 8/3 times 4/9. That would give me 32/27. Now you try one on your own. What's 5 2/3 divided by 2 1/2? You can leave your answer as an improper fraction. 5 2/3 divided by 2 1/2 is the same as 17/3 divided by 5/2. When I do that problem, I can multiply 17/3 times 2/5. The result is 34/15. We can also use division to make a multiplicative comparison. Let's look at the first problem. How many times greater is 3 1/2 than 5/8? That means 5/8 times what number is 3 1/2? That's the same as 3 1/2 divided by 5/8. First, let's change 3 1/2 into an improper fraction. What is 3 1/2 written as an improper fraction? It's 7/2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So I have 7/2 divided by 5/8. That's the same as 7/2 times 8/5. Go ahead and solve that problem now. Leave your answer as an improper fraction. 7 times 8 is 56. 2 times 5 is 10. So it's 56 tenths times greater, or 5 6/10. How many times greater is 5 3/4 than 2 1/3? I can solve that by dividing 5 3/4 divided by 2 1/3. What is 5 3/4 written as an improper fraction? It's 23/4. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 more is 23. What's 2 1/3 written as an improper fraction? It's 7/3. Now, I can divide. Go ahead and do that division problem now. You can leave your answer as an improper fraction. When I solve that problem, that's the same as 23/4 times 3/7. The result is 69/28. Let's do another problem. How many times greater is 2 1/5 than 3 1/4? You can leave your answer as an improper fraction. The correct answer is 44/35. 2 1/5 is the same as 11/5, and 1 3/4 is the same as 7/4. I can multiply 11/5 times 4/7 to solve this. That would give me 44/35. We also talked about rectangles with a missing dimension. Remember that area equals length times width or base times height. So if I know the width or the length and I know the area, I can divide to find the missing side. A rectangle has an area of 5/8 square inches and a length of 3/4 inch. What's the width? So I can say 3/4 times something equals 5/8. Or 5/8 divided by 3/4 will help me find what I'm looking for. I can multiply 5/8 times 4/3. Do that now. What's the result? You don't need to simplify. It's 20/24. Now I can simplify. What's the largest number that goes into both 20 and 24? 4. When I divide both 20 and 24 by 4, what's the result? It's 5/6. So the missing width is 5/6 inches. Let's try another. A rectangle has an area of 6 3/4 square inches and a length of 1 1/3 inch. What is the width of the rectangle? Well, I can divide 6 3/4 the area divided by 1 1/3 the missing side. How do I write 6 3/4 as an improper fraction? It's 27/4. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 more is 27. How do I write 4/3 as an improper fraction? It's 4/3. Now I can multiply 27/4 times 3/4. What's the result? It's 81/16. Now you try one. A rectangle has an area of 3 3/4 square inches and a length of 1 1/2 inch. What is the width of the rectangle? Go ahead and solve that problem now. The correct answer is 30/12. 3 3/4 is equal to 15/4. 1 1/2 is equal to 3/2. When I multiply 15/4 times 2/3, I get 30/12. The last thing we talked about was packing smaller cubes into larger rectangular prisms. So let's look at a problem together. How many 1/3 inch cubes would fit into a prism with dimensions of 2/3 inch, 2 1/3 inch, and 4 inches? Remember, we have 3 steps when we do this. First, we need to find the volume of the larger prism. So I need to multiply 2/3 times 2 1/3 times 4. First, I need to change 2 1/3 into an improper fraction. How would I write 2 1/3 as an improper fraction? It's 7/3. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So I need to multiply 2/3 times 7/3 times 4. Go ahead and do that problem now. What's the volume of this rectangular prism? You can leave your answer as an improper fraction. Well, 2 times 7 is 14, times 4 is 56, over 9. 3 times 3 is 9, times 1 is 9. Now we need to find the volume of each smaller cube. It has a dimension of 1/3 inches, so to find the volume I need to multiply 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. What's the volume of each smaller cube? It's 1 over 27. To find how many smaller cubes fit into the larger prism, I need to divide the volume of the prism by the volume of each cube. So 56 over 9 divided by 1 over 27, or 56 over 9 times 27 over 1. What's 56 times 27? It's 1,512. So I have 1,512 over 9. I can divide to make that a mixed number. Go ahead and do that now. What's 1,512 divided by 9? The answer is 168. 168 small cubes fit. Now you try one. How many 1/2 inch cubes would fit into a prism that is 2 1/2 inches by 3 inches by 4 1/2 inches? First, what's the volume of the larger prism when I multiply 2 1/2 times 3 times 4 1/2? Go ahead and solve that problem now. Make sure you convert to improper fractions. The volume is 135 over 4. What's the volume of each smaller cube? Remember, I would multiply 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. Go ahead and do that now. The volume of each smaller cube is 1/8. Now I can divide to see how many smaller cubes would fit inside of the larger prism. What's 135 over 4 divided by 1/8? Divide to write your answer as a whole number. The answer is 270 cubes would fit. 135 over 4 divided by 1/8 is the same as 135 over 4 times 8 over 1. When I multiply 135 times 8, I get 1,080. Then I can divide by 4 to write it as a whole number. The correct answer is 270. You did a great job with this video. Now go to IXL Practice L.8 until it's time for your exit ticket.